If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it. Want to change the world? There's nothing to it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to my review of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And you may notice something very different about my appearance. Yes, I am now wearing glasses. I have a bit of a short sight problem, and it's something I needed to address. So, for pretty much most, if not all, of my forthcoming content, you will see me wearing glasses, apart from the hangouts in which you don't see my face. But yeah, anyway, with the passing of Gene Wilder earlier this year, I thought about reviewing this film for a while, but it was only until I saw Alan Kalo's review that I decided to get off my butt and actually review this film. A film that I've watched throughout my childhood quite a lot. Surprisingly, I mean, I wasn't born in those days, but I always watched it as a kid. You know, it was something that was very fond of. So, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. This film was released in 1971. It's directed by Mel Stuart. Stars Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka, Peter Ostrum as Charlie, and it's based off the book written by Roald Dahl. The book is called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but for the film they changed it to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Of course, they would remake the film in 2005 and title it Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which was Tim Burton's film. We'll get to that later. So, yeah, the basic plot of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is that there is a big announcement that this, chocolate entrepreneur, well, not entrepreneur, this this famous chocolate maker, Willy Wonka, is basically handing over his factory to an apprentice, and he decides to send 5 golden tickets out into the world, and the lucky 5 winners would get to visit his factory, and he will then take them on a tour into his factory, and he will show them all of his biggest secrets in terms of the making of his chocolate and his confectionery. And the 5 winners are, of course, the 5 kids, but the main kid that we focus on is Charlie. His family are poor; they have nothing. His dad isn't around. His mum is doing a lot. And he's also at school he's also doing a paper round, and his grandparents are all bedbound. Life is hard for Charlie. Suffice to say, I haven't got a. Oh, sorry, I thought I had a stain there. Yeah, life is hard, suffice to say, and he wants this chance more than anyone. He wants to, get this chance to go and see the factory. He wants to see Willy Wonka. And his grandpa, Joe, believes in him so much, and he really wants him to have it as well. So, together, he sort of encourages him to he tries to raise his hopes, and, after a while, it becomes hard for Charlie to sort of imagine himself receiving a ticket. We do see the other kids who obviously received their tickets. We have the first one, who is Augustus Gloop, who's a German boy who is he's a bit of a pig, to be honest. That's not putting it very politely, but that is essentially what he is. He's this pig who just likes to eat. I mean, he's going there to basically scoff the lot, isn't he? I mean, I don't wish to sound harsh, but it's the reality. You then have Violet Beauregarde, who has this uncouth obsession of chewing gum. It's kind of disgusting, really. And she's also going as well. You have Veruca Salt, who is, well, an absolute brat of a girl. She wants anything and everything she can think of or gets her eyes on, and of course, she, by brute force, being verbally quite aggressive to her father, says, I want a ticket, I want it now, I want it now. She's an absolute brat. And then you have Mike TV, who is this, TV addict, who happens to win one of the tickets as well. So Wonka brings all of these 5 people, these 5 kids together, and he shows them into his factory, and he wants to test all of them and tempt all of them to see how far they will go before to resist what is there. And also the whole thing is for them to learn a lesson, and I think it's wonderfully clever. I mean, the way that Roald Dahl tells the story. He also wrote the screenplay for this film. It's worthy to note. He adapted his own book into a screenplay, so no wonder this film is so good. So yeah, and each of them have to learn a lesson out of this, and have to try and become better people. And that's really it. And then, of course, in the end, everything goes to shit. The kids keep dropping one by one after doing a bad deed, but Charlie manages to do a good deed, and then Wonka sees the best in him and offers him to basically look after his factory and live in it and give his family a better life. So ultimately, that's it. Yeah. So, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. This is a magnificent film. Wow. I watched it again just now after not having watched it for years and years. I mean, I used to watch this a lot as a kid. I mean, I was born in the 90s. I watched this a lot as a kid. I was born in the late 90s anyway. But it was always a fond film of my mum. And having seen this over the years, I mean, I've always had great affection for it. But watching it now, I mean, this movie, I mean, wow. I mean, I think this could actually be a masterpiece. It's a family masterpiece. I'm actually being 100% real with you guys. I think this is a masterful work of art. This film is fantastic. I mean, first of all, the story is just brilliant. It's a wonderful tale. It's quite interesting. I mean, it's kind of obviously quite quirky and weird. I mean, I like the story very much. It's not something you'd expect from anybody else apart from Roald Dahl. And it's been wonderfully adapted into the big screen. They've obviously had to expand certain story elements and stretch certain story elements because of the runtime. This film is like 95 minutes long, so they have to get. I mean, the book isn't long at all. The book is like a short story, so they have to really extend it. And for the most part, they do it really well. I mean, I like all of the news stuff as well. Like, they incorporated a lot of the news reports and everything into it, and also the to create the to show that there was a lot of hype, and it also shows Willy Wonka's legacy, and I like that. You get to see the full extent of his legacy throughout the world. He's a well-renowned chocolate maker, confectionery maker, but his work doesn't go unnoticed, which is great. I mean, the whole hype about everybody wants a ticket. Everybody wants a ticket. They create so much out of this. They create so much hype out of this situation, and it's fantastic to see it. I mean, it helps with the comedy as well. I mean, there's a couple of like small package moments that I like to call them package moments, where you see people like, there's that guy who's talking with the investors, and he's like saying, he's trying to program this computer to tell him the location of a golden ticket. I mean, it's absurd, the whole idea of it in this kind of film, but moments like that make me laugh and smile with this film. Also, that moment where this woman is talking with the guy, and her husband is up for ransom over a case of Wonka bars, and then the other guy says to her, "It's your husband's life for a case of Wonka bars." She's like, "How long do I have to think it over?" I mean, it's like, in a real world you wouldn't say that, but I just love that about this movie. It has such a quirky sensibility about it, and it has such a a daring sense. I mean, the first half of the film, we don't even see Wonka. The first half is build up, and it really works. I mean, I thought that the character development was fantastic for this film, and there's a lot of characters. There really are a lot of characters. Some are obviously just along for the ride, which is fine, but the main characters are. I mean, Charlie is a great character. I mean, the boy that plays Charlie, Peter Ostrum, I believe it is. Yeah, Peter Ostrum. He's really quite wonderful in the role. He's very likable, very charming and sweet. Clearly, the best of the kids in terms of characters. The best of the five kids. But generally speaking, the cast are fantastic. I mean, the kids are surprisingly good. I mean, Peter Ostrum as Charlie is very charming and likable. I think that Veruca Salt is the standout child performer. She's just brilliant. She just owns that character. I mean, you really believe that she is a brat. I mean, you get a similar sense with Violet, but it's not so much. Violet is also is played quite well. And Mike TV, yeah, he's good too. And Augustus Gloop. I mean, it's. I mean, they are very larger than life characters with big personalities. But the way it's displayed is brilliant, and I love the fact that Willy Wonka might be mad, but he's not stupid. He will test these people. He's tempting them. He's testing them. Because he knows he can see as instantly when he meets them who they are, and how genuine they are. And that's the genius of the story, is that it's so clever. It teaches kids that, being a selfish brat ain't gonna get you nowhere. All these things that could make you a bad person. The film basically is trying to make kids better. Basically more like Charlie, like just decent people who are grateful for what they have, and don't, even though when they're presented with the opportunity for more, that they don't ask for it, which is obviously the complete opposite for Veruca and all the others. It's just genius. The story's really good. Also the cast, Gene Wilder, I mean, God rest his soul, Gene Wilder is the definitive Willy Wonka. I'm sorry, but he is absolutely wonderful. He is so funny and likeable. He makes me laugh so much. His quirks and his energy is just great. I mean, and he's got a good singing voice as well. I can't deny that as well. Sorry, Johnny Depp, but it just wasn't cut it. I mean, okay, I'm not going to completely blame Johnny Depp for his bad performance in the remake. But, God, I mean, Johnny Depp basically played Willy Wonka like Michael Jackson. As in real life, Michael Jackson. Oh, fucking God. Fuck me. I'll get to that film in a bit. For the sake of, argument, I am going to review the remake as well. I'm reviewing this in tribute of Gene Wilder, but also I'm doing sort of a double bill, sort of like a good versus bad comparison. But we'll get to the remake at some point. But I also want to mention about the songs. I think the songs are really lovely. I don't think there is a bad song in there, and all the arrangements are superb. I mean, I think it's very difficult to put songs on film because of, editing, and also you can't, for performers, it's hard to do it on film because you don't get a live reaction out of it, only from the crew. Film is not as theatrical, so there's a lot of technique involved in terms of creating something like that, so like mime or something, just to give the illusion that, it's all been arranged live when it hasn't, But for the most part, they do really well. I mean, all of the songs are great. I mean, my favourite would have to be Pure Imagination. Brilliant song. Absolutely fantastic. I love the Golden Ticket song too. Cheer Up Charlie is great. Veruca's song is awesome. And all the Oompa Loompa songs, it's just wonderful. And it all comes together so well. I mean, the songs are actually there to tell the story. They're not there just for the sake of, you know, having a song and dance. There's a reason why they're there. And, you know, each Oompa Loompa song is obviously reflective of that particular child, and it's saying, you know, don't guzzle down food, don't chew gum, don't be a brat, don't watch too much TV. It's all great lessons for kids to learn. And I must have picked up some of it. I think I've turned out pretty decent. I don't want to brag, but, you know. I mean, first of all, what we have to talk about is also the art direction. This movie has fantastic production design and art direction. When you step into, you know, the main, like, room with the waterfall and all of the confectionery down there, Willy Wonka's, basically you're stepping into paradise. That moment when they all step into the room and they're like, oh my god, now I can see it, why it's so amazing. You know, brilliant, just brilliant. I mean, because the the first half of the film has a fairly sort of realistic look to it, so they're escaping into fantasy, and that's the whole idea. Willy Wonka's like, you know, there is nothing better than having an imaginative life. You know, it's why he lives in isolation, because he doesn't believe that living in the real world is any good. I mean, he living in his own factory, but yeah, I mean, look at that. I mean, even the poster has it as well. Even the poster has it. What else can I say? The music score is really nice, really quite charming. This film has a really lovely sense of charm about it. There is one scene that did creep me the fuck out, though. I mean, that sort of psychedelic boat ride. I mean, I get why it's there, and I think it's a good scene, but some of the visual imagery is a bit risque. I think some of the visual imagery is a bit too much for the scene. That would be one of my only criticisms. Like, and I mean, all the characters react to it, which makes it quite funny. Like when Mrs. TV keeps saying, "Oh, I'm gonna be sick," and Willy Wonka singing like, "Is it raining? Is it snowing?" It's just great. I don't know why, but I love that. It's just so much. It's so funny. I mean, it's just the back projection. Some of the images are a little bit scary. It's a bit scary. But it's not a major gripe. I think the pacing is done very well. I'm surprised actually how good the first half of the film is, because we don't actually see Willy Wonka until like 40 minutes into the film, which is nearly halfway in. So we spend a lot of time with the whole, you know, commercialization of the golden tickets and also Charlie's emotional storyline, because he is the main character. I mean, the book is called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, even though they called this film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. You know, I mean, it all comes together very nicely. I think the script is just brilliant. I mean, the comedy's funny. I love the interaction with the characters. There's a lot of people on screen at one time as well, which makes it quite funny. Like when they go on the tour, the best scenes are when they go in the factory and, you know, Wonka's interacting with Mr. Beauregard, Mr. Salt. It's all fantastic. I mean, what needs to be said? It's a work of art, and I think the direction is fantastic by Mel Stuart. Damn this, I better than Tim Burton. Oh God. And you know, I like the ending very much. The fact that when Charlie gives back the gobstopper, that immediately says to Wonka, like, he knows what he's done. He's you know, he's understood the error of his ways, and he's willing to. It's his apology. He's saying, sorry, I don't deserve this. You can have it back. And that's clever, because that's what Wonka wanted to see from the other children, which he didn't get, because they're all selfish brats who have an obsession over something, you know, Augustus food, Violet chewing gum, Veruca everything she could want for, and Mike TV. Yeah, that's it. Charlie is a normal boy. He doesn't have very much. I mean, even the fact that he doesn't have very much, and yet he'd still give back what he was given earlier as a treat, just shows how genuine the boy is, and that really amazes Wonka. I mean, the ending scene I think is very nice. the resolution of the film when Wonka says to him, you know, when he's like, I'm going to give you my factory and all of that stuff, and it's very sweet, very touching. The only thing that I would say about the ending is that it's slightly, not abrupt, but slightly odd. They just fly off. We don't really see where they go. Like, I mean, I know they didn't want to make the film too much more longer, but I don't know. It just felt a little bit, they cut a bit too quickly. But yeah, I mean, wow, this film is a real wonderful. I have a complete smile on my face when I'm watching it. One of my problems with the remake was that the tone was completely opposite to this. I mean, yeah, and also, where's Charlie's dad in all this? I never really understood. Did the dad die? Did he break up with the mum? What happened? It would have been nice to have just a tad bit insight. I mean, they mentioned the dad. They mentioned, oh, his dad's not around anymore. But why? Tell us why. We want to know. Oh. But no, I mean, this is just a brilliant film and always be a classic. And I love this film to death. I could watch it all day, actually. I could really watch it all day. But for the purpose of, you know, finishing this review, I will quickly wrap it up. So, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I am going to rate this movie. Fuck it. I'm going to rate it 10 out of 10.
If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it. Want to change the world. There's nothing to it.
Yeah, it is a masterpiece in family entertainment. I mean, apart from the psychedelic scene of the boat ride, it's, you know, everything else comes together really well. Fantastic, really fantastic film. So yeah, and rest in peace, Gene Wilder. You were the definitive Willy Wonka. No matter what anybody says, you were the definitive Willy Wonka. So, thank you, my friend. Thank you very much. And thanks for Alan Kalo for inspiring me to do this review. I was thinking about doing this for a while, but I never got around to it due to my life. I'm much busier now than I used to be. So, that's it. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Tune in next time when I review the Tim Burton remake. So, until then, thank you guys all for watching. And as always, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. See ya.